City are still alive here. Balotelli, Aguero! Special beyond special.
Best player in the Premier League.
Captain Marvel. Drogba! Rooney! Oh, wonderful! That is one Derby diamond.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's match day.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Clash of Clubs, episode 24, our Kobe podcast. It's always nice. In this episode, we're going to start with United versus Arsenal and their victory in the FA Cup after penalties. We'll then talk about Liverpool and the slippery slope that's ahead of them. We'll then switch over to London and we'll talk some shells. Then we'll talk about Citeh and their 2-2 draw. And we'll finally wrap it up with some transfer talk, as it is that time of the season. Whoa, Mila, crazy light switch over there.
It heard transfer talk.
It did, and it went. Oh,
I got excited.
Oh, I do want to start before the United thing. For our one Everton fan, I want to have a moment of silence for Sean Dyche and the utter woke nonsense of him being sacked. I got one DM about it. Colin, this is for you. Very sorry for your loss.
Well, they got Moyes.
Yeah, Moyes is all right, huh? They'll still suck.
Yes, 16th, 15th. It's fine. It works.
I guess we'll
They
see.
need to stay. They need to stay up.
Yeah,
You have to be, and you can't get relegated.
Scary hours. Scary hours. I wouldn't want Moyes at the helm if I was looking to be like, oh, turn my season around. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Okay, but let's talk about the biggest match from the weekend, which was United advancing in the FA Cup to the next round after they beat a 12-man Arsenal in penalties. Fucking disgusting match officiated. It was one of the worst I've seen in some times. I mean, it genuinely felt like 12 on 10. It was not even remotely close to a fair game from just a match official standpoint. I guess I'll start with that. Not saying that Dallas shouldn't have been sent off, because he did. That was a silly challenge when you're on a yellow. I think you could debate the first one wasn't a yellow to begin with. United had like literally half of their fouls turned into yellow cards in like the first 60 minutes of the match. And at that point, Arsenal had 0. And it was just a crazy kind of back and forth there. I think as for the game up until that point, up until when United scored, it was pretty boring, pretty similar to the last time they played at the Emirates. Except this time they didn't have the dark arts of corners on their side. I don't know. For me personally, this match kind of highlighted everything we've talked about in prior episodes. Like, United are a team that are looking to build on results, and they still haven't won a match in, I think 4 or 5 outings now, but this is as good as one, right? The last 2 have felt as good as results can be for this United side. And I think these are important stepping stones and building blocks for Amorim. As for Arsenal, we've been talking about it for months now. I mean, the fact that they don't have a striker and they missed all those chances and they didn't beat a United side who had 10 men for 60 plus minutes is absurd. And then to lose in penalties when United took off all of their attackers is absurd.
Euro took a pen.
Euro class.
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
It is embarrassing. That's pretty much my summary of the match. Was like fucking United. I mean, they up until the red card, they outplayed them because they scored first. They played on the back foot, but they still outplayed them. They had the better chance and they scored it. And then when the game changed because the referee gave the second yellow, Arsenal didn't do enough to win the match. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are.
Definitely not. Yeah, I think there's a lot to go off, but to your point, we definitely spoke about, and I'm not going to say saw it coming, but understood how easily it could happen, obviously. A big one for me that I think I got wrong, I think I said it a few weeks ago, was it'll be easier without Saka than it was without Odegaard. Yeah, that not true. They did change the system, right? Versus this is still the same setup, but they have nothing going forward. And we've been saying it when he was healthy. It's like Saka is that good to where they can get away with what they're doing. And as soon as he's gone, there's just absolutely nothing left. Sterling looked like their best forward, which says a lot. I mean, it's
Yeah, it does say a lot.
2005. Sterling should not be your best forward if you're trying to compete for the biggest trophies, which is what the ambition is. Yeah, Havertz, like to your point, he's just not a striker. I don't know. I think he had a good run of form towards the end of last year. He did start off this season not too bad. Was giving him some credit, but still the same player, unfortunately. You know, there's runs of form. Players get hot. They have good goal scoring form. I mean, I'm sure we'll get to it later. There's another striker in London that has not been in great form. But Havertz, like, it's nothing new. This is the same fucking player. It's the same thing. The dive is just unbelievable. And I think, that game was a disaster, but the no VAR almost made it like a proper game. You know what I mean? Like an old game. Throwback. It felt like a throwback. You don't want that when those type of decisions are going against you. Like, I'm sure you were just irate. Like, Maguire's reaction was probably every United fan was like, oh, VAR's taking care of. Oh, shit, there's no VAR. And then he just lost it. He fucking lost his head. As like a very mature Maguire deserves so much credit.
I absolutely agree.
I mean, just from getting pretty much run out of the club. I mean, he was getting booed at preseason friendlies in America. He was getting booed literally everywhere he played. He was a meme to staying and fighting for his spot. And obviously the system change really benefits him as well. But that's got to be difficult for any guy to go through what he went through mentally, I'm sure. And to come back and be playing like this, and that ovation he got when he walked off, that was sweet. So
Messi like.
Yeah, that was sweet. But I'll get back. But yeah, Arsenal, man. And now they're going to get Zubamendi.
Let's just tack on players that are unnecessary.
Why?
Let's save it.
We'll get to that later. But yeah, Arsenal, I mean, there's not too much left. Odegaard's been disappointing since he's come back. Not playing up to his standard. I guess that'll be my transition to United. Bruno was fantastic again. That was a captain's performance. And I think what we were saying when Amram first came in, to where like we just need to take anything we can get from this season, positives, and just kind of move forward with those. And you're seeing the team kind of turning into mentality monsters very slowly, but like it's the first step, right? You can't just become from one level to the next as a player, but that mentality, you can absolutely get that into your team, and you're seeing it. Ugarte's leading the way in that, and they're fiery. I don't know. They look like they can see out a game. I think you can credit some of this to Arsenal's attack, but I didn't really think they were going to score again. Yeah, they had their chances, but they seem really resolute and just willing to like be dogs to get the job done.
Bayindir stood on his head. Yeah, to be fair,
Garnacho,
I think he deserves some props.
Yeah, Garnacho's decision making the past few games is
much better.
And day. It's night and day. Bayindir, I've never seen. We were talking about up until probably the sending off was like, oh, he's still terrible. We were still like, oh, he just doesn't. He looks shaky. It's not great. From that point on, just unbelievable performance from him as well. Yeah, the whole team deserves lots of praise. I'll let you guys get a little more into it on that front, but very impressive from them.
Yeah, Mila, you can touch on it, and then I'll touch on the players, and then we'll get off this game because
some of the saves he made. I don't really have much to say about it. I also only got to watch regular time. I didn't get to watch extra time.
Well, you were in your own 1-1 draw, so
you didn't miss anything.
Yeah, but I just saw the saves. They were remarkable. You don't expect that from is he the third choice or the second choice?
Second choice.
The second choice keeper. But he's not a top tier
pretty
keeper
easily,
that you're expecting those types of saves from, especially some of the penalty save, the first one.
Yeah.
That one stood out to me. That was like a full extension.
I don't think Odegaard's ever missed a pen.
No.
That was the first he's ever gotten saved.
Poetry.
I can see that.
Yeah.
And then Havertz missing a pen. Who's a penalty taker? He's taken pens before.
Another great save. Yeah.
Unbelievable save. And on the other end of it, I've never fucking seen anyone look as jumpy as Raya in that shootout. That was Man,
It's a compensation thing because he did it against Porto and it worked because he's smaller, so he thinks it needs to be reactionary. But United did their homework, right? This felt like United had a better game plan for everything that was involved within this game more than Arsenal did. When it came to the penalties, they just outclassed them. They literally knew exactly what Raya was going to do, outclassed him. And then for the penalties itself, I thought he saved two. So
yeah, I think Amarin might be a sicko in a good way, obviously for you guys.
Yeah.
But and being able to game plan and saying like, hey, this is exactly how we're going to approach this team. Once you're able to, and I think it might take a while to really get there, but get the players he wants to the point where he can really attack a team like that and just like pick them apart in that sense. I think obviously there's tactics, but I think he's got a lot up there in terms of the mentality of the game, how to approach the game in that way, little intangibles, things like that. And yeah, I think it was fantastic watch, especially. Oh man, yeah, I let Havertz off too easily, bro. That was unbelievable.
It was one of the worst striker performances I've ever seen.
Multiple times, I was like, "There's no way he fucking missed that."
He literally handballed the ball.
I've seen it all.
It was in the 6-yard box and put it over the net. I've never seen that before. And the worst part about the whole thing is it would have stood.
Yeah,
with both arms touched the ball, had it in the 6-yard box, and put it over the net, and it still would have stood if it had gone in. And he did it. I don't even know how it's possible.
Like in real time, like I'm very locked in. I'm trying to watch the game. Like I really do want them to lose to the point that I'm focusing on this game. Like I'm watching and I see him miss it, and I've seen this guy. I know what he's capable of in terms of misses in front. Like anytime we had a one-on-one, like I didn't even get up when he was up top because like you just know what's happening. But even that game, I was just getting floored. I was like, oh, that's nuts. Like the one where he sliced it wide. I thought it took a deflection in real time, so I was just like, oh, like, yeah, he missed. Like, what's new? Like, goal kick? How's that a goal kick? You fucking missed it. Yeah. Unbelievable. And we'll get to it a little later with my team, but even if he was the striker that they thought he was, you still need someone else. If you're competing at that level, unless you have a freak like Haaland, you need two strikers. You do.
He's. You need one consistent one.
Yeah,
but let's not act like they were going to rely on him before this run of form. Like
he also got hurt fouling Bruno that didn't get called. I can't get over the injury because it's like he literally took Bruno's boot off. That was so poor.
That's why he threw his boot.
Yeah, and he got a yellow. Bruno got molested and then he got a yellow. That's crazy.
He threw his boot at him.
I don't give a fuck. Gabriel did the same thing and didn't get a card.
They should both get a card.
Yeah, but he didn't. That's what I'm saying. Like it was just so wishy-washy. Such shit refereeing.
Nah, refs are usually pretty consistent with those types of black and white decisions, like violent conduct, for example.
No, apparently not.
There's nothing you can do. Even with fucking.
Let's wrap up this game, and I'll wrap it up with a couple of shout-outs to some United players. Obviously, you mentioned Maguire. Over the last few games, he's been great. This was a game of redemption arcs for United players. Thought De Ligt, after kind of getting hammered after the last game, which I didn't think necessarily was his fault, he's the reason that United didn't concede in extra time. And the entire back line was great. Bruno, I talked about him as my player to watch for the rest of the season because he has to be. And he was better than the other Cam that keeps getting brought up in conversations with them. So, and then I have been hypercritical of Xerxes, but in his cameo, he was the better striker. He was the best striker on the pitch, but it's just not saying a lot. But he was an absolute mentality monster, and for someone to come and be in the situation of getting hooked after 30 minutes. The fans after him a little bit, to come back into this game, take a fifth pen, and to see off that match is super important, not only for himself, but I think the club and Amram in general. He's not giving up on these guys, right? And that's a big plus for the manager to be like, I still trust you. You're still going to have to put in performances for me, and I need you to be at your best. And hopefully this helps Xerxes kick on. I think him leaving in January is probably unrealistic to begin with, right? He's going to have to. Amram's he's not going to have an arsenal. We'll talk about that later on, but he's going to need people to perform, and if Xerxes can help provide that either at the 10 or the striker, I'm here for it, and I'm happy for him.
Yeah, I hope you the cycle, and I'm sure you can attest to it. But it's been like, let's say it's Hoyland starting. The sub typically looks better in the time that they play. So it's like, oh, let's start blank next game.
Yeah.
And then he'll have a dry 70 minutes. Hoyland comes on. Oh, that was a good 20 minutes. But it's just, they're slightly better, but both of the levels aren't there.
Yeah.
So it's just a frustrating cycle. But you saw all the positives in Xerxes' game. Like, that's what he can bring. But to that point, there's been, I'd say, equally like negative performances from him where it's just been brutal. It's been a tough watch. But then you see the player there. It's like,
yeah,
sometimes
I'm not getting over the moon about his performance, but I'm happy for him as an individual and as a human being, because that's fantastic. I mean, that's such a cool story. Is like, hey, look, he was terrible, 30-minute hook, and then he wins and puts Arsenal out of an FA Cup. I mean, this is a historic rivalry, and yeah. So that's great.
It's the cycle.
All right, let's switch our focus to the Prem.
Liverpool.
Yeah, me and Mila have been on this for a little bit. The slope is slippery, man. The slope is slippery. Slope is slippery. United is just. To be fair, no one is fucking taking advances on this so far.
That's what keeps me like thinking like it's safe.
But to be honest with you, Arsenal pick up a win against Spurs. Not to say that I think that they're going to continue, but they're 3 points off, right, or 4 points off.
Yeah. Nottingham didn't drop points today.
I think
that's
this is what
thing.
cemented Forest for me. I might be late to the party, but they're absolutely in the top 4 race. And
yeah, they're so
the way
good.
they play.
Mathematically,
they all play with like 110%. Like
the game plan is just spot on. Like, you got to give credit to the manager.
There's effort,
there.
and there's an understanding of what everyone's gonna do. Yeah.
Chris fucking Wood.
Yeah, I don't know who this taught me. I feel like this taught me more about Forest, but I feel like 2 straight draws for Liverpool. This should be more telling, and maybe in the opposite direction. Salah has been poor in 2 straight games, and they haven't picked up
performances. That didn't tell you anything. That's the thing.
I didn't that, but we already knew that. Yeah, exactly. Because if he's poor, they're not going to get.
The defense doesn't look as secure as it did, and to be fair, it looked like shut down. Like, people were not scoring at all against this side. But I think that's probably secondary for me. For the most important thing is Salah. Like, that's all it is. Like we said, like 75% of the goals at one point, like he was contributing to. You can't do that unless you can do it, of course. But Salah, over the years, like we have seen, like people talk about it all the time. Like, second half, towards the end of the season, you just run out of gas. It's valid. It happens. But you can't just rely on someone to get you otherworldly output for 38 games. It's unfair, especially to someone at his age. Like, that's not right. You can't ask him to give you those numbers over a whole season. It's just not going to happen, especially the type of player he is at the age he is. He's going to pick and choose his moments, and he's going to put away chances. Like, that will happen, but you can't ask for that type of volume over a whole season. It's absurd. So
it is absurd.
That's really what it comes down to. That's what it comes, because Nunez, like, I think he's gone after this season. I think time's running out for him. Jota just doesn't stay fit for a full season. Diaz isn't a 9, so that's
That's it.
Gakpo just looks so much better off the left. Maybe Chiesa comes in off the left, and Gakpo.
I forgot they have Chiesa.
I know. He played in the cup, but yeah, that's really what it comes down to is, can Salah at his age do this for a full season? Like, that's a tough ask. So if that's not the case, you're going to have that slack picked up. But that's really what it comes down to for me.
I think I agree. I don't really know. Obviously, the table hasn't changed much for me to think anything really different. All it told me is it's not over, and I don't think it's over for maybe the 2 teams that are directly below them. But
then, did we mention Newcastle at all in the past few episodes?
No, but
a little bit. They're in a good run of form.
They're in a really good run of form.
It's been.
But is that going to go away? Is this an Isak purple patch, and is that going to go away with the purple patch?
For him, but he's never been fit for too long.
This level of scoring that he's doing right now is higher than anything he's done. I know he's very good. I agree with that. Yes, but aside from Newcastle, for him to keep doing that, I think the reform is.
Yeah, because right before this run,
it's
which
based on his form.
Really good. to your point, they were, I think, winless for like 6 weeks at one point, all comps.
Yeah.
So maybe it's the same question where can you ask Isak to do that for a full season? What do you say?
Do they pick up anyone? I feel like they've had
They had PSR issues, so I don't know.
I don't think so.
Mind. They're not going to pick up anyone.
No. But to be fair to them, this is their only real competition, right? Like the outside of knocking out Arsenal in the EFL, like this is it.
Yeah.
Like this is the important one. I think for them to get Champions League is going to be probably critical to their PSR stuff and getting back in there, and they absolutely can. And it'll make the summer super interesting with the amount of really high talented players that they have if they are to get Champions League, because I don't
for sure
see many of them leaving.
I mean, you see the type of players that come into any English team. Like, the poll is crazy, so let alone in your Champions League, you can really get anybody.
Yeah, it matters. It absolutely matters.
Champions League in England, you can sign whoever the fuck you want.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So, the slope has started. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with them starting to lose confidence a little bit.
Dude,
little squeaky bum time. Okay. A team that might be also in squeaky bum time and Champions League question marks are now arising. Which, if we had said this 5 fucking weeks ago, we're talking about a team that we almost thought were like, oh, they're cemented, almost as this is they might just have this easy. I thought they were in a title race. Chelsea. Go ahead, Grant. Your club.
Same shit, different day. It was a very similar game to Palace. Get a goal early, play a perfect first half, arguably, and you only end up 1 goal. Should have had more. Should have ended the game in the first half. Right away, the team looked awful. Caicedo ends up conceding a penalty. I think Lavia got the ball taken off him, who looked really good up until that point. And then Caicedo makes a challenge penalty. It's not a right back, so you can understand how that happens. And then right before the second goal, I was going to text you guys, they're going to score. And then Semenyo, I mean, that goal was just, I don't have anyone to blame on my end. That was just a finish. Like, that was a very well taken goal. I don't even think the defender did too bad at Chempong. Like, that was just top. And it was deserved. Get bailed out by Reece James at the end, which is the only thing keeping my head on, because it's great to see him back. And I texted you guys it earlier, but it is fascinating for me to be out the amount of time he is, not being able to play and just stepping on the field and immediately just looking comfortable, looking the level, looking the part. Fair fucking play. You can tell he works his ass off just to stay fit and to get back out there. And couldn't happen for a better guy. Loved seeing that, but it's really the only thing keeping my head on. He rescued the point, but that's 3 draws, 2 losses in our last 5, and probably on paper the easiest run of games we had. I mean, we got City ground last game of the season at Forest. Like, that top 4 needs to be locked up by then. That is not going to be an easy place to go. You've got a tough run of games coming up, I think, like February, March. Like, we got Wolves at home on Monday, and then we go to the Etihad. Wolves, I think this was a must-win, but we got to go win those. Like you said, I was probably a win or 2 away from saying, yeah, fuck it, I do think we're good enough, we're in the title race. Dude, we need to get top 4. We still don't have a sponsor on the front of our shirts because we haven't been in the Champions League. Like, that is the primary reason why that's the case. We can't keep spending all the money we've been spending. And if you're not in the Champions League, I think we're ahead of schedule. And then this past run of form, at the start of the season, if you showed me the table, I probably would have taken it, right? But after what we've seen, I think if this team doesn't qualify for the Champions League, I'm fine with moving the goalposts there, saying that would be a failure. That has to happen. This team has showed they're way too good to not finish in the Champions League spots, especially considering the context of how much we've spent and all of that stuff, all the outside things. It would be a failure not to qualify for the Champions League. So I can't even blame the manager for this one. I thought we created tons of really good chances. The one we did convert, Jackson, you tip the cap. We've seen him do it before. Just turn a defender, run into the space, perfectly weighted pass, times the pass, Palmer finish. Easy. That's what we praise him for. That's why I come on here all the time talking about, oh, he's this, he's that. That's why I'm always talking about him the way I do. Like that is normal. You can't excuse the misses when you drop points. You can't. Because at the end of the day, for as much as I love Nicholas Jackson's general play, his press, everything else, week in and week out, is very sound. You have to put the chances away, and it hurts us even more when we don't pick up the points. It's not fair to him, but look at the strikers we've signed, bro. Like, Datro Fofana's out on loan in Greece. The Washington from Brazil, he's in the U23s. He doesn't play. Guiu's 18, 19 years old. What are we doing? Jackson's the only one that can play every week. And even then, when we signed him, that wasn't like, there's our starting striker, we're sorted. No one thought that when we signed him.
It's almost like your board actually believed the curse is real.
Oh, I believe it too.
Yeah.
They don't want to sign like a legitimate striker. So
I mean, look at the last one we signed, to be fair. I'm not mad at it. Like, I'd rather have this. But at this point, the way I see it is I understand this is the process you guys took up top to get where we are right now. Once you get to a certain point, I think it shifts and it goes, oh, this is good enough. Let's just add the finishing pieces.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Whether that's, I was going to say Mignon, but he's always hurt somehow as a keeper. But like, just, you get in a top goalie, you get in another striker, a bagsman to compete with Jackson to get him better. Because we can't bench him. You can't start Guiu. You can't start Nkunku. We start Felix up top, Palmer false nine. You have to start Jackson. So when this run of form dips, like, it's fucked up to say, hey, go again. You got to score. Like, he's 22 years old. It'd be nice to have a Duran or a Samu or Osimhen. Hey, you can start. Hey, let's cross in some balls because we have Neto, really good crosser of the ball. And you made the point as well, Dylan. The signings over the summer, individually, you don't question the players. Like, Pedro Neto, we've seen him play. Jadon Sancho, we've seen him play. João Felix, we've seen him play. But the way the system's starting to work, you're seeing, okay, Sancho, not a goal scorer. Neto, not a goal scorer. Madueke is probably the only wide guy who is a goal scorer, and half his goals were the hat trick, so hard to even argue that. But out of the crop of wingers, he's the goal scorer. We don't overlap our fullbacks. The manager literally said verbatim, I don't like overlapping fullbacks. So, okay, they're isolated, so they have a really tough job to do. They're going to be wide, so probably not too much output. That means you have to have a lot of goal scoring consistently from the middle. And you have that from Palmer, but when I mentioned the drop-off of the team, he's included. He's not immune. I think he looked his normal self in the first half. He looked awful in the second half. Even when he's getting on the ball, he wasn't getting anything off. It wasn't like he just ghosted or got marked out of the game. He had opportunities to have impact, and he did not look very sharp. Maybe you can attribute it to him going down a bit earlier. Had a little bit of an injury with his ankle, run it off, whatever, but he did not look good in the second half. So you're starting to see, like, these players are really good, but, man, you need goals. You need goals from your striker when you sign players like that who, yes, are very talented, but they're not going to be scoring 15 goals in a Premier League season. Sancho's probably not going to do that. Neto's not going to do that. What do I mean probably? No, they're not going to do that. Neto has 1 goal in the Prem. Sancho has 2. Right? Like, of course they're not. So, you need goals from up top if you're going to sign players like that. So, we're seeing that. And I think more to that point, to just kind of better sum it up, Maresca, I don't think he trusts some of these guys in certain positions. I think it's really straightforward because at the beginning of the year, all I was talking about is, wow, look at all these tweaks he's doing mid-game, halftime, just changing the shape. Why would you stop doing that if because he realized he learned his squad.
It could have been him, filling out the squad, exactly.
He comes into a new squad going, okay, first game of the season, Nkunku and Palmer out wide. Right? Like, that throughout the season, he's starting to learn this team. Like, okay, halftime, we're going to make this switch. We're going to do this. I think he's learned the squad in that sense, and I've been probably a Clear Lake defender, I'd say, but I think that goes up top. I think don't sign players the manager's not going to trust from this point on. I don't want the manager to have a chokehold on the team per se. Like, I think that's what Poch wanted. That's why they ended up splitting up. But the board needs to be held accountable for that. And I think missing Champions League, I would immediately look upstairs and say, like, what are we doing? Because you hear a lot of people talk about, oh, we identified Duran, we identified all these good players. Let's go get some of them now. Like, we're running out of time in that sense. So I think it turns around. I still have confidence in the team. Like, I'm not worried about it, but it is frustrating. I do think there's times where you have to be critical. That's what's going to move you forward. Just sit back, make excuses about it. Like, Cucurella got whacked in the head. It's a red card. The reason I say that is because it happened a month and a half ago at Southampton. Slight pull of the hair. Just like that, immediately a red card. I've never seen a referee go to the monitor and go, oh yeah, I'm going to give a yellow. I don't even think you're allowed to give a yellow off that. I don't mind a referee sticking by his decision. I think it's noble on the principle of it, but we just called a hair pull a red card six weeks ago. This guy just got blindsided. The guy lifted his arm up. Like, yeah, Cucurella totally made a meal of it. It's a red card.
The point of VAR is to correct decisions, right? Like, if they went to the monitor, and I don't know how you could have looked at that situation and not given a red.
Bro, he was looking at it for like 2 minutes.
I really don't know how you look at the monitor, watch him get clothesline, and go, no red for me here. It's just poor.
And I think they just all hate Cucurella over there, which is valid. I get why people don't like him. Like, I understand that. But obviously certain players have certain reputations. Obviously, in the States, we got like a Draymond Green. He's got a short leash. He'll get technicals. Actually, does he even have a short leash? Let's not get.
It's a bit of both.
But there's certain players that have certain reputations. With Cucurella, I think it gets looked at a certain way. It's like, eh. But again, that's not an excuse. It's just annoying. But that doesn't matter. You still win that. You should win that game regardless. Yeah, I think it's better off with 11. I'd rather watch a game of 11v11. I want to see what this team's made of, but disappointing. On a positive, I do want to give a lot of credit to Enzo Fernandez. I thought he was really good today. In the system where it's very isolated for the wingers and you need a lot of stuff to go on in the middle, they need support. I think Enzo really did that. 7 chances created for him in that game. And I think you can attribute that to just the legs. I've never seen him run this much. We were talking about the allegations. If he was training with Mudrik's trainer. But it's a different player. I mean, a lot of our fan base was like, oh, this fucking fatso can't cover ground in the middle. Look at him move. Like, this is why Caicedo's bad. He's everywhere. This guy just runs. Like, he will make overlapping runs. He'll go support the wingers. He makes stuff happen. He connects the play. I thought he was really good today, so I do want to give him a lot of credit. Because if your wingers aren't going to be contributing, he needs to be contributing, and he also needs to get back and defend. So I thought he was immense, and I do want to give him credit. But bro, the drop off from first to second half is probably the most frustrating part. That was just unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean,
it was the least shocking thing. I saw the penalty. Oh shit, the penalty. I was like, yep, knew it. Like, I wasn't shocked remotely.
This is the same Chelsea game we've watched 5 games in a row. A really good first half performance. They come out of out of halftime and they're not the same team. It's interesting, and I do kind of want to bring it back, and I want to ask Mila this because it's something that I'm noticing, and I'm not sure if it's just like kind of a one-off thing. And you mentioned how the manager clearly doesn't trust these players, but I think this kind of speaks maybe to a bigger potential issue on the horizon that I'm noticing, but it's the idea that this is the first time the manager, the players, and the board are starting to butt heads. Because the whole point of the spending and all that stuff was, we're going to bring in players, and it doesn't matter who the manager is, he's going to make these pieces work. And this has been something that has never been proven to work in football, and I'm still very skeptical of it, because right now we're learning that the manager is clearly not enjoying the players at his disposal. And I'm not sure if it's sustainable, if Chelsea wants to get to that next level.
I think to that point, bigger picture, I still think this is what we have is more than enough to finish in the top 4. I think we'll turn it around. This is a bad run of form. I'd like to see it end soon, but I still think I've seen enough from them. What I will say is you're not wrong. There's been some mismanagement for sure in terms of bringing in the wrong pieces. What I will say is, to play devil's advocate, I think there's a lot of good pieces that make sense. To your point as well, there's one party with the sporting directors signing players saying, oh, they're young, they're technically sound. You're signing all these profiles, and then you're picking out a manager to say, yep, he's the guy to make that work. So they're signing on his behalf saying, oh, these are young, they're technical, like they know how to play in this type of system. They want to play that type of football. So that makes sense. And there's good ones, right? Like I think Caicedo makes sense. Cucurella's integral.
Hold on. Just like...
this window. Yeah. Let's go João Felix. Yeah, Felix, Neto.
Did Felix come in for the manager? Did Felix come in because the guys in the club?
No. He came in. Sorry, he came in with the manager. Was what I was saying. Because this is why I wanted to bring you and Mila, because this is something that I'm saying is I just don't. It feels like they're forcing the manager to make these square hole, round peg things. It's just not. We're seeing for the first time this season that not collide well. I'm not sure if you feel the same way in that sense.
I don't know. I think it's just their issue is just the lack of form. It's a new team, a young team, so like we've said, they need to deal with that and find their way to ride out that wave. I do think if you combine your point and Grant's point, though, if there is just a select couple of guys that the manager's trusting, that can start to cause more issues.
Absolutely.
Because then you have this advantage of the large squad. It turns into a disadvantage because most of these guys are upset and unhappy that they're not playing anymore.
Look at the Viega news over the past year.
Exactly.
What the fuck's going on?
He's free to leave SC.
No, because it went from
you guys are trying to get out.
No, I only want a loan. I still want to be Chelsea long term. I just want to play center back for 6 months. Like as soon as the results drop,
doesn't make sense.
As soon as the results drop, they start.
Results drop, not that, but also minutes drop. Some of these guys are just getting less minutes now, like you were saying. The manager's figured out his routine, what he wants going on.
Nkunku's going to be thinking, why aren't I in? I can make us win. What are we doing here?
Exactly.
So I think it can happen like that.
Yeah. It definitely switched from being an advantage to a disadvantage.
At one point, we'd won 8 straight. You're seeing just this beautiful football being played. Oh, look at this, look at that. To your point, Mila, I lean more to, I think it's a young team that's developing. I was saying it from early days, like, there's going to be a dip, and it's going to suck. I'm going to be very upset about it. It's going to make me angry. But it's going to happen. It's the natural progression of things, and you just have to get better. You just have to. You have to get better from it. You have to take everything from that. Remember why you kept dropping all those points, and take it forward with you. So, long term, I still think I'm confident in this core, but clearly there's pieces that shouldn't be there. I think that's absolutely a fair criticism, and there's pieces that should be there that we didn't bring in. So it sounds a bit stupid from me saying, oh, we should have brought someone in after we spent the money we spent.
Just like a quick estimate, like how many players do you think Maresca trusts?
I think he trusts most of them. I'd say double digits.
Well, yeah, I thought that would be an issue if it wasn't double digits.
It's just so strange. Like the Tosin thing throws me off.
What, benching Tosin?
It just throws me off because we're talking about like you brought in these players and into Felix to a certain point. Neto over the last stretch of games, the manager not playing these guys until the 80th minute really it just kind of rubs me the wrong way.
Felix is probably the worst one. I
guess so. Yeah,
no, because the manager said like Palmer and Felix, these are the players that make you want to go to the game and watch. Like that's the type of player they are. So he talks about them like this and then just leaves them on the bench. And the only really way to accommodate him and Palmer is either one of them's out wide with an overlapping fullback so they can tuck in. That's the only way to accommodate them. But at this point, given where we are in front of goal, I think that's what we have to do at home against Wolves. At home against Wolves, I need to see João Felix start. just because I think he's the most hard done by. He can make the most happen. The downside with him is that there are giveaways. It's a bit too much of trying to make the perfect play from him, and he can get the ball taken off him sometimes. But he, for me, has shown the most of why he deserves to play. So I'd like to see that change. But Tosin, I think he comes in on a free. He's paid his dues in this league. Yeah, I'll get my Chelsea move. He knew he was going to be a squad player.
No, I guess my issue is there's a clear need for a guy to be there, and you guys are going back to relying on the academy, which hasn't been.
Oh yeah,
that's just a strange.
And it's a bad look.
It should be.
You look like idiots. They told Chalobah not to come on the preseason tour, and 6 months later we're talking about recalling him.
Yeah.
You look like idiots. I agree.
It's just just going back on everything that the whole structure has been based off of, and that's just like.
It's from like the squad standpoint, like, Fofana's a right center back. I don't think Tosin fits that profile. But, it should be Disasi, the guy you paid $45 million for. Very clearly not up to it. I think we can all agree on that. In this type of system, as the right center back, he's not up for that. So why'd we bring him in?
Yeah.
Why'd you bring him in if, to me, I've said it since day one, I really didn't want to be right about it, but was he ever better than Chalobah? No, I don't think Chalobah's this world-class center back prospect, but I don't think Disasi is better than him. Badiashile, he's hurt right now, but again, he's always hurt too. So again, the recruitment. Defensively, I'd probably have the biggest bone to pick, along with the number 9 position, but there's for sure questions that need to be answered. You're not wrong. You're definitely climbing up a tree that has some validity to it, but I don't think it is going to sink us. I don't think it's a big enough problem to outweigh all the positives. I think the other side of the coin is this is the worst we're going to see this team. They're all nowhere near their peaks, right? So that's the glass half full side of it. Yeah, I think it's still there, but obviously incredibly disappointing to continue this skid.
Yeah, I mean, the change has to happen sooner rather than later because that slope, it can get you really quickly.
Yeah,
this is a slippery slope episode. It can get you quick.
We'll end up in 8 or some shit, and then we got to go to the Etihad. And then I have to listen to why'd they fire Poch, and I can't fucking go there. We can't.
If we don't sign a midfielder, you guys wipe us at the Etihad.
Yeah, I think we should. I think our midfield's way too good. They need to fucking recall a midfielder. Caicedo and Enzo play every week.
I mean, on that note, let's go to City. Let's move to City because. What the fuck? Mila, go ahead.
I could watch, yeah.
I couldn't. I think. Let's start with the good things.
Let's start with the first 75 minutes of the match.
There was a lot of positives from the match. Offensively, just as a unit, they all looked a lot more in sync. The ball was moving. It felt a little more. There was more purpose to what they were doing, trying to go forward, rather than just possession for possession's sake. I thought in the first half KDB was a little too ambitious, but a lot of the time he was coming off the left side, and I think when he's doing that, he'll get 1 or 2 good crosses in, but the majority of the time we want him crossing it from the right side with his right foot to someone like Haaland to run onto. It ended up being Foden that got that ball in the second half. A really good goal. I'll just talk about both the goals real quick. And then the second one was a brilliant piece of play from Sabio. Just burns his defender. Absolutely destroys him. And then decides to go for the shot. No, he decided to go for the shot. I thought he should have passed it, but it all worked out, I guess.
Nice to get FPL points.
Yeah, well, he takes the shot, and then Foden is there to sweep it up. I think De Bruyne would have gotten to it. Foden wasn't there, though.
I think you get assists for those in FPL.
You might. But that goal alone was a really bright spot for me, just seeing 2 of our best attackers put in the effort to go for the second ball, which is a thing we've been missing. If our guys aren't going to convert from the wings, I think we need to have those follow-ups. So that was a bright spot.
Got the assist, maybe. Oh, Reece James on my bench.
Who else had a decent game?
Shout out Foden.
Haaland was good.
Yeah, Foden. Haaland was really good. He did not have a goal, so on paper wasn't. But link up and hold up play, that guy was getting freaking abused. every time he had his back to goal. Every time. It was straight pulls, getting dragged. He did not care. He stood in front, got the ball back to our guys to make something try to happen. But
are you liking Savinho on the left over the right?
Savinho's way better on the left.
I know you like the traditional wingers as well. Left footers on the left, right footers on the right.
One of each is preferable, I think. But
General Ake?
Ake was good and bad, I think. Obviously had the 2
goals.
Or like the 1.5 goal line saves. So that was really cool. Just he's there to put his heart on the line, to save those goals. But you do have to look at him for the first goal. He kind of right afterwards he like looks and he's like, "What? Like offsides? Maybe?" Like bro clearly had no idea what was going on. So that was disappointing because throughout the majority of the game, he was really solid, which I think him and Akanji, that is the case most of the time. I thought Akanji didn't play that well today.
I thought he was poor too.
Yeah, I think man marking was poor, nowhere, just kind of in no man's land a lot of the time, and on the ball decisions, defensive decisions, it just wasn't there today. Nunes at the right back.
How was that?
Pretty good.
He was inverted.
For a midfielder playing right back, I'm not going to complain too much. I think he could have done better at times, but he definitely
didn't give away a penalty.
He has the aggression to play there, but we clearly need to go pick up someone. And
better than Kyle Walker, would you say?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Walker right now, he probably isn't better than Kyle Walker, but Walker mental is gone.
Given
he can't do anything. It's not going to happen.
I thought it was Saudi. I'm surprised. I will get to the transfers.
Yeah.
I actually was curious. What did you think of the Gundogan sub instead of it being a guy like Rico?
Should have been
O'Reilly.
Or O'Reilly.
Yeah, it should have been O'Reilly.
Do you think that's where the game changed? Is when he came off or came on?
I don't want to say it's Gundo's fault, but I think in that period when you need to sub, why would you make us less defensive?
Yeah,
Kova's very like. It's not similar in the way they play, but what they offer defensively is similar. Kova's a little better, a little more legs, and Gundo is just less of that. And he's not really giving us output right now either. I don't understand the point of subbing in a Gundogan in that situation when you could put in, like you were saying, a Nico or a Rico, just an energy guy.
You just need legs to see out the game.
Mm-hmm. And Nico O'Reilly had a great game, and he played out of position at left back. Obviously Salford, but it's good to see those things.
It's
physically he looked really good.
It's momentum, right? Like all these guys are just looking for pieces to build off, and you finally kind of saw it. He doesn't do it.
Yeah, I guess they did just play, but we're up 2-0.
Yeah,
and these guys are running us down. We need a little help in the counterattack to help with that. So I understand putting in Gundo to try to slow down the game. But if you're going to try to do that, putting Grealish, I've heard other people talk about it. Like, why not put in a Grealish who's actually going to slow down the game, win us set pieces to actually kill some time? Like, Gundo doesn't do any of that. There was no sense into bringing Gundo on, I thought. I don't think Gundo played awful, but I just don't see the point.
He was just a bystander. I think that was that's been the issue with him all years. He's just hasn't been youthful enough to be an impactful player like he used to be, and that's just kind of the sign of the time. This game was so that Chelsea and City played 2 games that I've watched this year multiple times. Not something new I've seen. You guys both were up in games, concede. I mean, for City, conceding late on in the game, that's happened before. It's not new.
Yeah, we've dropped. I had a stat. It was dropped 7 points from winning positions in our last 4 games.
Yeah, I think City's is probably more.
We talked ourselves. We dropped
not in the last 7, but this season.
And I think that Gundogan sub point. Obviously, I didn't watch the game. I didn't watch the game, but I mean, 75th minute it comes on, and then they concede the 2 late goals. It makes no sense knowing how direct Brentford are. Like, this is what they do. Like, you need legs, knowing that that's your frailty, getting beat on counters, and how direct Brentford play. Like, 1 + 1 is 2. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough call.
Yeah, I'll talk on Brentford because we haven't. That's a super good team. That's a good Premier League side,
especially at home.
And at home, they're great. And they've got good players. They were always going to score. If it felt like they were going to score.
They definitely deserved to draw this game. We both deserve to draw this game, but it's so avoidable was the frustrating part.
That's how I would be.
Regardless of what they deserved out of the game, we could have walked away with the 3 points, and we didn't.
It's crazy. We've taken wildly different paths, me and you, Mila, but we have ended up in a strikingly similar position from this point forward, where we're right there in that top 4, and it's just like, all right, bro, what are we doing? Can we get our shit together and just please lock in for the rest of the year? Very different paths, but from this point forward, it just seems like such a somehow
in this run of 4 or 5 games. Yes, I think it's just same shit.
Just even where we're at in the table and what we need to get done in the league.
Yeah.
Completely different teams, completely different arcs, and obviously what you guys have done the past few years versus what we've done the past few years. But right now, it's so funny how we ended up in just a very similar situation on the table. It's just all right, we gotta lock in
and
please get top 4.
I think, and if you guys are okay with this segue, I think you can make the argument that both teams need new signings. And I know
I want to talk about one more thing.
Okay, you talk about it because I actually have I have a stat to actually segue it in as well. Are you going to do it? Okay, cool. Yeah, you go ahead and do it.
Because I didn't even talk about just the defensive unit as a whole. So, was it the box defending?
Yes,
stat,
it is.
Dylan?
It is the box defending.
Did you see it, Grant? Basically, we are the worst box defending team in the Premier League by a country mile.
What are
it has to do with
metrics?
It's clearances, headers out of the box, right?
Cross success rate percentage. We have the highest allowed, 35%. And blocked shots against percentage, we have the lowest at about 50%. We block about 1 in every 2.
So you're allowing almost a bunch of crosses.
Every other shot, a goalie has to make a save.
Problem. Yeah, you can rip a bunch of shots and cross it in. That's not good.
I think that goes into a lot of things today. That's one. I think that's why Pep was.
Is Diaz hurt again?
Yeah, he's been hurt. But he was emotionally praising Ortega. I rewatched that. That was not him yelling at him. That was him going, shit, bro.
I mean, Pep's such a crazy dude.
He was just he was gonna fuck him.
I believe that.
That's what that looked like to me. That was aggressive shit.
That was him telling him good shit, you did great today because
he's a crazy dude.
We concede so many shots. He makes so many saves.
He did make a couple.
We probably should have been down in that game. There were times where he totally kept us in the game. So that was nice, but then it also doesn't look like he's going to be our number 1.
I was going to say
in the future.
This is a backup keeper that we're talking about. He shouldn't be being asked to make these types of saves when he's playing, right?
Ederson's not going to make 1 in every 2 shots save, so that's why he can't play. So we definitely need to make signings there, 100%. But more so the defenders rather than the goalie. This is why we're bringing in 3 center backs. Is this stat? We're bringing in aggressive young guys that, one, aren't really proven yet. They have shit to prove. They need to go put their fucking balls on the line and play every day for the badge, for themselves. So they're going to go out there. Kusanov is a monster. He goes into tackles with 150% rather than anything less than. Yeah, we're getting proper
defenders. Thanks for pronouncing his name because I didn't know how to pronounce it. Kusanov.
It's okay. The hard one is Rice because I'm pretty sure that's not how you pronounce it.
Is it? Oh, it's not. It's not Rice. It's what is it?
Probably
like
by
Rice.
His first name. He's Brazilian.
Is he Victor?
Victor. We'll call him Victor.
It's Victor, bro. Victor.
He's gonna be great.
I'm shocked at the quickness that those have happened in. I mean,
I'm almost not though.
Because I'm not.
I know what you mean.
You know what I'm saying? To get a kid from Brazil this quickly, that doesn't happen. And for him to be immediately leaving his club, I'd be happy about that movement. As a City fan, though. They identified what they needed. Let's get it. The only thing I'd be worried about with defenders, because we talk about this a lot with Chelsea, is they are very young. But I think
that's where you have. I think at the end of this, we're gonna have a Ruben Diaz an Ake, and an Akanji to mold them. And if you bring in a Ba, a Kusanov, and a Victor Rice, then at least two of the three are probably going to pan out.
Yeah,
and they're so young that if they don't, you sell them for maybe a profit, maybe the same price. Like, you'll see.
Sure.
I think it puts us in a good place, but also 3 center backs, and Marmoush is going to be done probably 2 days from now.
Yeah, Marmoush.
Freaked out, dude. If I were you, I'd be like, "Why is he still playing, bro?"
But at the same time, we don't want him sitting either.
They got a "here we go" from one of his teammates, and then he went and played a game.
He's gone.
That's happening.
Yeah.
There's still a hole, right? There's still a hole in the midfield. Has there been links there?
That's not something. Hole. It's the biggest hole.
So I haven't heard any links about midfielders with City, so I'm very confused. Like, that's a big anus-sized hole right in the middle. So.
We're linked with Luiz. We're linked with Eders. It's the same fucking guys. Zubamendi can.
Douglas Luiz
we
needs
can
to
talk about that.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, let's switch.
Coward.
Zubamendi
is a coward. We can go back into the City things after that, but as one of the City targets, what are you doing?
Did I don't know if I said this on the pod or not. Did I not say something about Liverpool not having the pull that they should have? If you think about like what they've achieved as a club, like why would he say, "Oh yeah, I'm not going to Liverpool"? Why?
Okay, no. I think that one was different. That one was more so like I think I should stay at Sociedad, and then he gets regrets for staying at Sociedad. Then he thinks, "Oh, I want to do that." Actually, Liverpool aren't interested anymore.
Yeah, because Liverpool have grabbed him
after that,
or like Lavia not going there when we just got Caicedo and they needed a 6. Like, what is it with that? Like, that has always been something I thought about. I mean, because Liverpool, like.
There must have been something extra incentive with the Caicedo one for me, because like he said yes, and then he said no.
Didn't he? Said yes. No,
didn't he? It was green light.
Terms were a formality. Personal terms were a formality, is what was said by Ornstein. Fabrizio never here we go to, and then that's when Fabrizio said.
So something happened where he was
the story at least is, he'd agreed since June. Personal terms, he wasn't going to go back on his word. He was wearing the Chelsea shirt a few years ago, like he had that picture with his mom, so maybe he's just a fan. His idol's Conte, so maybe he really does just want to go to Chelsea. But yeah, Liverpool probably offered him more money wage-wise. We have the structured wages. He's not on probably more than 150K at the most, I'd say. So yeah, I think that was just he stood by his word. He's like, I said I'm going to Chelsea. I want to go to Chelsea. Fair play, love him for it, but yeah. The Lavia one was weird to me that he also came, and I think he's a great player, but to not go to Liverpool at that time, when it's like they needed a 6, we just signed one for 115. Yeah, that made me start to think, like, what is it with Liverpool? Why aren't people going there?
I'm not sure.
Was it Klopp? It was Klopp.
It was Klopp.
Could have been Klopp.
Yeah, I guess it's fair.
I don't really know. You could have been thinking like Klopp's on his way out. You don't know what you're going to have at Liverpool.
No, maybe just the age of the squad, right? You had a bunch of guys really close to the end of their contracts, which is coming up to be an issue right now where they're not paying these guys, and Chelsea has been known to pay their players and be in a project, right? At Liverpool was at the end of the project. So what happens if they were to end up being bad at the end of the project? Like, there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. So our perception at that time was awful. We just that's also fair.
So that was like why would you go there instead of going to? But yeah, whatever. Zubamendi's a weird one because why is that? And again, if they get more business done,
back to Zubamendi.
But if Zubamendi's the only thing
he denied Liverpool. He got cold feet, and then he decided to regret that. City came to make a move for him. He went, I'm afraid to compete with Rodri, so I don't want to do that. And now he's going to go sit with the plethora of midfielders.
Yeah.
The holding midfielders at Arsenal. I don't understand it. What's the point?
I don't understand this from a player or a club perspective. That signing makes no sense. It just makes no sense. Like, especially because he's waiting for the summer too. Like, none of those guys are leaving.
Yeah. I sent you guys they're rebuilding that Real
Sociedad team.
Yeah, they're gonna probably make a big offer for Isak in the summer. I would not be surprised.
If they do more business,
that could be the plan at this point. But what is the point?
If they do business, he's not leaving if they get Champions League. I don't think.
Why would Newcastle not demand 150 mil?
Yeah, but anyway, I think more the point, if the only business they get done is, oh, we got Zubamendi coming in the summer, I'd be fuming if I was.
No, don't forget they'll get a center back.
It's very obvious what they need, and I think Jesus going down is like the big hello, you really need to sign one now. If they don't do anything, like I don't know, they should have probably been in on Kolo Muani on loan, right? Like just you need something. He went to Juve straight loan, so Tottenham probably, I don't know what they're gonna do. I think Tottenham were trying to get him too, but Arsenal. If that's the only business you get done, I think it's really damning. I do, just because Marino, I think we know exactly what he is, right? He's probably at his peak in terms of age. Like this is the player that you got. I don't think it's anything special. I don't think it adds much. Rice is a mind-boggling situation to me to pay that amount of money for your 6 and go, this is our rock. This is our spine. This is what we're going to build off of. To now, he's an 8. Yeah, he can't play as a 6. We're going to start that sicko every week. And Jorginho, who came in as a stopgap, is still being relied upon to play serious and meaningful minutes. I think Jorginho is a good player. You should not be relying on him in 2025. So the Rice not being the 6 confuses me, because when I watch them, there's certain points of the games, because I spew some shit to Facundo a lot about Arsenal, so I got to back my chat, right? Like, so at certain points of the game, I say, hey, let me just see what he's doing. It does feel like Rice can just totally get bypassed in a 90-minute game. He's relied upon as like a box, like that's what he added the most in that game against United, was just box crashing and like getting into those positions. No wonder they're not putting away chances. That's the record-breaking 6 you signed. Why is he box crashing? It blows my mind. So Martinelli's clearly not good enough if you want to win the title. Yeah, Sterling on like that. It's shocking. It's shocking. Team
just
building.
a lack of ambition at this point.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah.
You could make the argument with Saka out now. It isn't even an argument to me, but you have to scrap the entire front line. And the worst part is like, if there's anybody right now to be thinking, you know what, we could win a title this season, it's them. They're 6 points off. They're 6 points off. They're 6 points off Liverpool. Why are they not just throwing the? I think to get Gyökeres, it's going to cost you 85, which is probably what it's going to cost you more in the summer for Isaac. That should be the immediate thing. Is because
you could probably drop the price.
Yeah.
If you put a whisper that you want to go get him, and he hears that right now, he'll probably make it an issue for them to go get him out the club, and then you drop the price a little bit.
Look how much they paid for Kai fucking Havertz, where they paid 65 for him, and he's their highest paid player. That's the thing that's killer, because bro, we signed Mildred for 62 plus all those add-ons. You'll miss on those signings. It happens. But the wages, he's your highest paid player. It's inexcusable. I don't know, just off the top of my head, a guy like Samu, go fucking get him. If you wanted to, you probably could. You could probably say, hey, Porto, what do you want, 50? Slap it on. Like, you could go get a 9, is my point. I'm not saying they should go get him in particular. If you wanted to, you could. You're in the Champions League. You tell him, hey, you're going to be the reason we win the Champions League for the first time. Go get someone. You can do that. They were the team for the past 2 years saying, oh, the minute fucking Pep leaves, we're right there. And by that, they meant as soon as City drop off. Well, they dropped off. And the new guy is up top. Nottingham Forest are up there. This should have been their year, to your point. And it's still not over. If they go and do a bunch of business in January, you could totally go for it. But yeah,
they just won't. Historically, they will not. They will not make a signing this January.
No one got busted for PSR. Like, go for it.
No, and to kind of confirm your earlier point, like Kolo Muani went. Why couldn't they have gone after? Is it? I can't pronounce his name. Kvskelia.
Kvaratskhelia. Yeah.
Right.
7. You spent 65 on Kai Havertz?
And we're talking about the wages thing. They made him the highest earner. Why couldn't Arsenal have done that? Oh, we don't have a left winger. This kid is young and could have gone into this straight.
They weren't going to beat up PSG.
No, I'm not saying that, but they could have
quintupled his wages.
Somebody. You can get someone.
The argument is that they could have gone. They weren't even linked. Liverpool were linked. Were linked. Chelsea were linked. United was linked. Why was Arsenal nowhere in that conversation? Because Martinelli's a better player?
No, they're waiting on Nico Williams.
Zubamendi.
I totally forgot. They need a center back. Fuck. I'm angry at this point because they're the closest horse in the race to fucking
the window's closing.
Beat the devil, and for them, I would be absolutely frightened.
To your point, what you said about Chelsea before they completely fell out of that picture, your main point was you don't get these opportunities every day. You're right there. And Liverpool just dropped points, so if they go pick up points, I think they'd be they could be as low as 3 points off with a game in hand for Liverpool or something like that. But they're right there if they wanted to go make it happen. But also to Mila's point, just put the Zubamendi in the summer in the bag.
The Zubamendi in the bag.
It's so crazy.
Put the Zubamendi in a right back in the bag, bro.
Oh,
if someone
they're
can justify
totally dropping points to Arsenal or to Tottenham.
Oh my god, I can't wait.
Totally, they're totally dropping points tomorrow.
We will be there. Tottenham transfers. I think I saw Timo was linked to Napoli, even though he's on loan still from Leipzig. So
and hurt.
However the fuck that works. Sure, they're a weird team because they bought a bunch of really talented teenagers and they're all now playing out of position because everyone's hurt. There's so much to be done. They could probably be talked about for like an hour in terms of what they need to do. So transfer talk.
Yeah, that's true.
What
they need to do is they need to beat Spurs, or they need to beat Liverpool. Sorry, that's what they need to do. I don't care about the transfers.
They play Arsenal. Tomorrow, right?
No. They need to beat Liverpool in the EFL. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
In the second leg.
Newcastle, and then Newcastle win in the 120th minute.
On an own goal by Romero.
No. Spurs are up 2-0, and then they just hold 3 in the last 10 minutes.
I hope Nick makes it to this point if he watches the video, but their players are actively trying to kill Ange. They're actively trying to kill him. Dude, they're fucking electric. That is maybe the most fun team to watch in the Premier League. I love watching Spurs.
Yeah, dude. You don't know. You literally, like the Tamworth thing, it should have been a replay. Like, Tamworth deserved that profit and money to be able to go to Spurs. But the fact that it was 0-0 going into extra time, I wasn't even that shocked. I was like, yeah, this is pretty spot on.
The game prior, they beat Liverpool.
Then you're 0-0 with a non-league team going in. It's the most... It's classic.
It's just
literally part-timers. That's awesome. I respect. This point, I got nothing but respect. Yeah. Mila, what's the next transfer you want to talk about?
The transfer that I wanted to talk about was Mullen to Villa.
The only one that the other one's actually happened.
I liked the announcement.
It just didn't make any sense to me.
Oh, bro, that's a.
Is he playing winger?
Yeah.
If he's playing winger, then yeah,
they have 3 strikers. He's played striker for Dortmund.
No, he's not a striker, bro.
He's played striker for Dortmund, and that's why they don't want him anymore. He's just this pacey winger. I don't get it.
Yeah, when I've seen him play, he just plays out wide and runs. You know what I mean? Like,
how is that any different than Bailey?
It's cheap depth. I'm not mad at it. It's just okay.
They're a team that's just outside of Champions League. What are we doing here?
Bro, I think he started in the Champions League final last year, no? And he probably did. It was probably Sancho.
He's not playing for a Dortmund side that was in 8th?
Adeyemi.
8th, I think, right now?
Dortmund have been pretty shit this year.
Ten Hag, baby.
Is that actually happening?
Apparently, he's been a ghost coach for, like, the last month. And, apparently he's... him and Anthony. I don't know how much truth's behind that. I feel like that's bogus, but that wouldn't be a bad signing for...
Doc Rivers was doing that with the Bucks before he became their actual head coach. He was actually helping out the other dude, then they sacked him, brought in Doc Rivers. It's happened in sport. It's happened in sport.
I'm with Mila, though, on this Mullen situation. I don't fucking get it. I don't get it.
I don't get it at all.
It's like, okay, he's played in the Champions League, he's got the experience, sure.
Buying for the sake of buying is never
They have
a good
bigger
idea.
needs.
It never works out.
Given the fact that they also were pretty tight with PSR, like that, I guess that's a valid point. Well,
they are in striking distance from Champions League. That should be their only objective for next season is getting back to Champions League.
What do you think's a bigger need for them right now?
They probably need another midfielder.
They're gonna rehaul their defense one more time, I think.
Because
they're gonna ship like 2 of their
I like
defenders
Onana.
out.
I like Tielemans this year. I think he's been good, but he's played better.
He's dropped off a little bit here, and that was always going to happen because Tielemans hasn't proven that he can be a full-length player.
He's not a consistent player.
No, and Onana's been
over a
full
full season at least.
That feels like the biggest piece. Also, they haven't figured out their left back situation, right? Like they're not playing Maatsen every week. They're not playing Tenier every week.
No, they don't play him.
He played in their last game, but I just don't.
Well, probably. Yeah.
I think that they've switched the formation, and so I'm interested. I thought that a true winger could have been useful too. I didn't think Mullen was the fix here.
Yeah, that's the thing. If they're gonna get a wide player, go get a wide.
Yeah,
player. Don't go get a striker hybrid.
Yeah,
winger. Like I don't get it. Yeah, exactly. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, we'll see. But
are you gonna play him at like a right midfielder? Like what?
He doesn't have any defensive work rate.
And that's my point. Like, I just don't understand his fit in this team.
He's pretty bald.
Yeah.
Really shiny head.
He does have a shiny head.
Bro, I saw their Dortmund's thank you post, and like half of the pictures just had like full, and just like there was no transition. It just went from like, oh, yes, hair to no hair. Completely bald. Yeah, no transition at all. Fair play.
I also take stock in when other fans talk about a player, right? Like,
sure.
Dortmund fans were ecstatic to get off of him for 10 mil.
Dortmund fans were ecstatic to get rid of Akanji, though, so you got to take it with a grain of salt sometimes.
That's true, too.
Yeah, but
they also hated
Akanji was how old is
he? Was 27 at the time, or
26 something.
Was
like
he?
That.
Okay, yeah. I guess that's fair.
And like they wanted him gone.
They're Dortmund, though.
He's become really good. So I don't know.
That's fair. Okay, let's.
I think there's a player in Mullen for sure, but I just don't understand the signing.
Hasn't he already been? No, he hasn't been in the Prem, right? Has he been in the Prem?
I don't think so.
No, he played in Spain.
Let me do some research.
Yeah, you check. Was there anybody else that has had any?
I mean, Chelsea, we kind of just touched on it a little earlier.
We didn't. I think Chelsea's got two big ones that need to that are going to happen.
I'm saying earlier in hindsight, we touched on it where there were missed opportunities in the market. Goalkeeper is a whole other fucking situation.
Well, goalkeeper doesn't happen in January.
So yeah, that's a whole other thing. That's why I'm not even going to bother with it.
Let's talk about. I think let's finish on the last one or on the one that is probably going to happen. But let's talk about. For me, Mark Gahey right now feels like a Chelsea level signing that could happen instead of recalling Chalobah.
I don't love it.
See the point of bringing in another youth guy.
The depth in numbers is there. Like you see the number of center halves there, like more than enough to cover. For me, it's the profile that you're missing. Like if Colwell drops out, I think there's a drop off, but Tosin can play that middle role really well. Aerial presence, being able to play the ball, like no problem, right? You have that profile. There's no profile similar to Fofana in there. You don't have anyone quick enough that can defend in the wide areas. Obviously, Chempong's from the academy, but in terms of recruitment, you don't have the senior players there. So I'm really torn on this one, to be honest. I think it's not fair to the player, but I think a Chempong can do a job. But he's also 18 years old, so it's again not fair to say, hey, you should be able to play week in and week out next to a 21-year-old from the academy. That's not right. So
I think it's the same thing we've been saying with you guys, though.
Fofana's hurt, so you can't have Reece in the house.
Yeah. It's not a talent issue.
It's Daniel Mallon came up in the Arsenal Academy, but never played for their senior team, only played for PSV and Dortmund.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
Very interesting.
I don't know why. I get him and Danjuma mixed up in my head.
Danjuma, yeah.
Yeah, because they both are from the Netherlands. Yeah.
He went back to...
He went to Girona, and then he was at Everton, and then went to Girona. Kind of confused me.
I think. Oh no, he is at Girona. I thought he went to
still at Girona.
Still at Villarreal somehow.
To get back to Gahey, I think it would be a really good signing.
For what? For how much?
I don't think he'd cost you as much as he would cost. Yeah, I think 50 is an exceptional rate for a player of his talent.
If it was 50, you take it. He also has 18 months left on his contract, so in the summer, I don't think his price goes up if he doesn't renew. So I think this is, from a Palace point of view, this is the most you're going to be able to make off of him. Apparently, we're trying to use Chalobah as more of a leverage piece in that negotiating. I don't know. The whole Chalobah situation, we treated him like shit. I think we should feel pretty bad.
He probably doesn't want to come back, if we're being honest.
No, but the reports always were, because we tried to do this last year, but he was hurt the whole first half of the season. We tried to force him out of the club, and then came back, did a job from the end of the season, and then we forced him out again. But his stance has always been like, oh, he wants to fight first place. That's always the report. He's been from the academy since day one, so like I think that's just him. Like, oh, I love Chelsea, I want to do well here, but from a treatment perspective, it's been awful. It's been disrespectful. He's worn the armband for us. It might sound hypocritical coming from me after what I've said about Gallagher, but now saying about Chalobah. I think he's a good center half. I don't think he's you're gonna win the league with him there every game. Like, that's not his level, but I think he's a more than capable squad player. There was no need to force him out other than financial reasons. But yeah, Gahey, I don't know. I just don't know if that's the profile that is really like. That's what solves the issue. But again, it's a good defender with international experience, but
captain experience.
Not great in the air, which is somewhere we struggle.
Did he captain England?
I don't think he captained England, but he captained
Palace. He was one of the main reasons that England got as far as they were.
He's a leader.
I think that in terms of a profile of player, because and this is where I'm going to touch on to that swap deal. That now that I've had a little bit of time to sit on it, Chelsea are leaning too much into the idea of projects to me.
Yes.
And that is a bigger concern, and Gahey is not a project to me. He's a proven asset that can get better. And so by plugging him in, I think it gives you guys a much better chance of making Champions League. Right?
Yeah, I don't love the profile just like on paper when I'm saying like, oh, wide center back, all this, but in terms of what you're saying, what he brings to the table, it is something we need. Now, if that covers up my fears of his deficiencies getting exposed in this setup, who knows? But I do think he would add a lot on that end in terms of the leadership and experience he brings. That's something you need in a back line. Super cautiously optimistic, but Reece James, like, please stay healthy, mate. Like, would love to have you back there.
I just think that he can do a job. I think the system's not crazy different than Palace's in terms of like where he would be necessarily playing. I think he's got some versatility to him. I think being a captain matters, and I think that him being from England and already knowing the club, like, it just makes sense to me. It's the only one that makes.
I see it in that sense.
It makes. So that'll make it cheaper.
I just think it's make your money back.
And to the bigger point, like, I think you guys need proven commodities at this point. It's no longer about
what I just said earlier.
I agree with you, but I think if you're gonna do that and spend a little more for a proven commodity, go get the proven commodity that fits your system.
So what would?
Whereas he does not. He's very talented on the ball, but like defensively for what they need, it's not what they're getting from him. They're getting a very good guy that'll help them progress from the back.
Similar profile to Colwell.
Yeah,
which is
pretty good.
So, I don't
know.
No,
defensively, he does not like strike any fear into me defensively.
That's
I
fair.
think he's a good defender.
I do like the player though, a ton. I really do. But to Mila's point, I do agree with Mila here. Midfield, I think we've bought more than enough. I think we have more than enough talented players. I think if anything, we talk about a recall, whether it's Santos or Gachukwu, we've talked about that. Get some cover in. He doesn't trust Citeh to play as a 6. Dewsbury Hall, what a stupid fucking signing. Like, there's no
brain dead
way to put it, unfortunately. PSR shit, we gave them an 18-year-old for $5 million. We get Dewsbury Hall, who's pure profit for them. Oh, it's the manager's player. No one thought he was the level. Didn't look great in Conference League playing that position he played last year. It's nothing against the player. Fair play to him. But he's just not this level, so it's time. I feel bad. Brighton was supposed to sign him. We hijacked that. Like, fucking great. And then the only other things I think we do would be up top, especially if Nkunku leaves. He's already agreed personally.
Let's talk about the swap deal, because that's the one that's kind of been talked about. It sounds like it's going to happen. Nkunku for Tel.
Yeah, so especially if Nkunku's leaving, because he's essentially your backup 9. You need to bring in another 9. Tel is, I think, a very talented player. Let's not get that twisted. Whether he's a striker long-term or a wide player long-term, very good ball striking. Like, you see the ability in the player. Won't take any of that away from him. Hard to get playing time when, okay, Harry Kane's your competition up top. Musiala if you're trying to play the 10, and then Sane, Nabry, Olise. Who else am I missing? Coman. That's your competition out wide. And he's, 19, 20 years old? Of course he's not going to get much tick. So apparently he really does want to stay at Bayern. I think the profile makes a lot of sense for Chelsea in terms of what they're missing. However, this is the only other 9 you can rely on other than Nicholas Jackson, who, as we've talked about, has his deficiencies. Although he's a brilliant player, he's not clinical 100% of the time.
I think
you can't rely on Tell to be that guy. Let's not take the piss. Like, whether I'd love to have him, but that can't be the backup 9 signing.
You're also going to lose. Yeah, you're going to lose a lot of what you like from Jackson when Tell's on the pitch. I don't think he can offer some of that creative, more flair stuff, but he is a good player. Like, he's a strong runner. I just don't know about.
You need a proven guy.
I feel like you're losing experience in this, and it's doing right back to what we just said. It's another project for me.
And let's not. To be fair, I do think objectively as a 9 in that role, backup 9, he'd be better than what Nkunku's offering right now, which is not a slight on Nkunku. I still think he's a top player. I still think he's playing out of position, and he doesn't look good. It's not his fault. I think he could do better, but I also don't blame him. It's super unfortunate circumstances. He agreed the deal 18 months before even coming, and then we'd already switched managers a few times. Gets hurt misses a lot of last season, and Cole Palmer's a revelation. And all of a sudden, he gets no playing time. You're Nicholas Jackson's backup. So things just really didn't work out for him. I think if we get our money back, get a little bit of a profit, he'll go thrive at a big club in the Champions League. Not a problem, but coming back our way, if he leaves, you have to get a 9. Duran's not for sale. He's 100 million now. You missed that. That boat has sailed. You're not getting him. Osimhen has a break clause. Haven't heard a word about that. Don't think it happens. Gyökeres, haven't heard a word about us and him. Don't think that happens. Samu, we burnt that bridge. Delap, I don't think they sell him.
No.
Who do you get? Is Ollie Watkins that out of favor? Can you swing a move for Ollie Watkins?
I think you could.
I don't think you could do it right now.
No, I totally think you could.
Right now?
I'm saying in January. If Nkunku leaves, you need a backup 9 to come in now. That is
cost a little more.
Mark
but
Guiu.
To be fair, they did bring in
Malin. Be a
Malin.
backup though.
Like we were talking about earlier.
Guiu cannot be your backup 9. And that's not his fault either. He's 19 years old. It shouldn't be your backup 9. So if Nkunku leaves, which I'm starting to think they might not cough up 70 million. I think that was the asking price.
Jesus.
I know, we're not getting 70 million. We play hardball. But clearly there's going to be some negotiating done here. We have 2 more weeks. Or 2.5, 3 weeks. They need to bring in a 9 if he leaves.
Okay.
These scouts, they got a lot of fucking scouts. I'm sure they've got someone on the list, but
yeah, I think that if Dylan and I are onto something, and that Malin thing is not a wide player pickup, and it is a backup 9 pickup, we know Duran's not on the chopping block, so that would have to be Watkins. How much would you pay for a Watkins profile right now? He's what, 29? 28?
Let me look at that.
Good in the air.
Plays a factor.
Fast. Strong.
It's a good question.
Basically the opposite of Jackson. A little more clinical than Jackson.
But he is a good aerial presence, even though he's only 5'11". He's shorter than Jackson.
He's a proven Premier League commodity.
A physical beast. He can jump.
I'd pay 40 or 50 probably.
I could totally see that happening.
40 or 50? You think,
easily.
I don't think Villa let him go for 40 or 50.
I agree.
Why?
Because he's English and he provides a majority
He's 29.
of goals. But 40 or 50?
He's 29.
What did Solanke go for?
Goals. That's true. But Solanke's 24.
Solanke's not that young, but he's not 29 either.
That's my thing. Is English players in the Prem in January? Nah.
Solanke's 27 to be fair.
It would have to be 60, at least, in my opinion.
I wouldn't do that for a 29-year-old striker who's starting to drop off.
But, okay.
Small period. Drop-off's harsh. But
I think he had a bad run of form.
To play devil's advocate in this sense, he'd start right away, right? And then you give Jackson the ability to pick up form, and then
he starts right away. But to your point,
it's a bridge player, isn't it? Ollie Watkins is a perfect bridge player. in this sense, right?
Spend $1 million on that. And to your point, I think this is the perfect time right now. The next game, it would be a perfect time to drop Jackson. Hey, you've been good lately, but you're not putting away your fucking chances. So we need to throw you on the bench. We need to have the guy who, in theory, should be close to your level, pushing you forward. We're going to start him. And Cuckoo's not going to do shit up top. Like, let's be real. We've seen that enough times.
There's no pressure. He doesn't make any pressure on Jackson.
Yeah. And again, it's not Jackson's fault. All this weight should not be on his shoulders. I have to reiterate that. But he's not putting away his chances. He should get dropped. It's nothing against the player. This is just the natural progression.
I think either get dropped or have someone like you're saying to compete with him.
If Ollie Watkins is on his ass,
he's going. Exactly.
He's putting that shit away.
Yeah,
because Ollie Watkins put that shit away.
Either he's putting that shit away, or he knows that he has to work harder to put those chances away.
Because Cuckoo's not doing that job, and Cuckoo's no threat to his position.
There's no threat right now.
When he comes on, it's like watching Messi at Inter Miami. That's his press. That's how he presses. So you can't do that. If you're not going to be bagging hat tricks, you need to fucking press like Jackson does, because that's one thing. He does not stop running. And obviously, my striker needs to be putting away chances. Like, that's the be-all, end-all, but he adds so much, and when the other competition isn't doing that, like, it's not a question. Like, he's going to start every game, and he probably knows that. And you need that little edge.
You do. Yeah, I really like the walk-in shout. I'd be, if I was Chelsea, I'd be willing to pay. I'd be willing.
50's crazy, yeah. 45.
It's just not going to happen.
You think you can go lower and throw in a wide player?
Oh, you can have Chukwuemeka back.
I said wide player.
Like 3 players and 10 million.
I just don't know why Villa would do it and not try to fleece you guys, because it's more of a...
I agree. They wouldn't do it unless they could get max profit off of him. Like, they wouldn't get... This is not him at his peak value. Like we just said with Gahey, this would be the perfect time to sell it, because he's
totally could, though. If you're thinking realistically, it's a $50 million signing, but it's January, they can go get 70, 75 for it. Just depends what your guys' goals are for this season, too, and how realistically...
If you're going to end up getting...
Who are you going to get rid of?
Whoa! I mean, if you guys are going to end up selling dudes in the summer... Like in Nkunku, if the swap is in Nkunku for Watkins, it just makes sense. If you have to throw on an extra 10, 15, in my opinion, that still makes sense.
I know Bavaria sounds cool and all. Have you ever been to Birmingham?
No, I don't think that's not what you meant.
No,
I know.
The last thing about Tell is I think that if Chelsea are going to do a signing for him, that has to be in the summer. That can't be now. The swap deal doesn't make any sense.
So it's separate. It is obviously.
That's got to be pushed down the line, because he's incredibly talented. Incredibly talented, but
it would have to be now though, because I don't think he's getting any minutes under company.
But that's why I'm saying in the summer he might now then be like, "Hey, it's not happening here. Company doesn't rate me in that sense. I'm ready for a different challenge. I'm 19. He'll be 20 at that point. Let me go to Chelsea here, and then he's competing with Sancho and." Maybe it's for a left winger spot instead of a 9, and that just makes more sense in my head. Bayern might be willing to move on at that point, right? Depending.
I think long term he's up top. I think he plays up top long term, because Jackson was almost a similar one where it was like he played out wide a lot.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's his natural progression. But yeah, if Nkunku leaves in January, you need to bring in a center forward. I don't think it's going to happen, just because I don't think the valuation is going to be met. The reports are always, we're not going to sell him unless he asks to leave type shit. So, you know how that whole game goes. I don't think he gets offloaded until the summer. But,
yeah.
You got to lock up Champions League. And if that's one of the reasons you don't, it's because you only have one recognized striker who's only played striker for a few years at the top level. That won't look good. Fucking hour and a half again, boys.
Well, we're gonna go over that because we didn't even touch on United.
Glory.
No, yeah,
and probably the biggest transfer saga over the last month, and the guy that's on the back of the shirt. But Marcus Rashford has been in talks with a bunch of top clubs, because apparently he sucks. So, if anybody thinks he sucks, Barcelona must be fucking trash. So, super talented player. They're not.
Don't forget that Barca is stupid.
Transfer stupid. Yeah, I absolutely
agree. No disrespect to Rashford, but Barca are just stupid.
They're stupid, and I don't think that happens. But
what if it's like the Aubameyang move, where he just gets his 6 months to vibe? Like
Aubameyang.
I think that it's in United's best interest for both himself and and him, but to the bigger point of like letting him go on loan, right? But not having an obligation to buy at the end, because I think the best possible outcome is he goes on loan, he performs well, and then you're able to mark up his price because he's never going to be lower than right now. He's not played, he wants out, and you have him under contract. So let him go on loan, let him perform well at a Barca or an AC Milan, because I think that he'll perform well on either of those teams, right? And then at the end of the summer, you open that bidding back up to like, hey, this guy still got it. He's in the prime of his career. Let's let it happen. Because if you go, what are you realistically getting from Marcus Rashford if it's a loan with obligation to buy?
35, 40 right now.
And
no,
that's
no. What?
Well, was that not the tag on it?
That's what I'm saying. Is it's 35, 40, and I don't
right
think
now.
I don't
think. I think any smart club would make it an option to buy.
Yeah.
So that way that United can
lock that value in.
Yeah, they can't rearrange it if he does perform well, and they have the option to not accept it if he does perform bad. So, and in that case, I think it would probably be somewhere.
Has
in the
Napoli
middle
been
of
brought
price.
up?
I don't think
apparently they want Garnacho.
I saw him and Werner.
That makes more sense.
What the hell is Conte cooking?
The Garnacho too, Werner? Like
no,
either way, like between the two makes no sense. No, Garnacho makes a little more sense.
Garnacho makes sense. Yeah. Young prospect.
No, but just
Werner
makes the same sentence where it's like
it is.
Those are like that's
fair,
almost
fair.
The way I read it was like this is the type of winger we're looking for. I was like, what are we fucking doing? But I feel like Napoli makes sense because Barca. I mean, Rafinha's playing on the left right now. He's in absurd form, and you have Yamal out wide on the other side, so he'd have to play through the middle, which obviously that's a whole conversation. If that's his best position. AC Milan, I know Leao's in and out of form and out of the lineup, but he's probably one of their highest paid players. He's their guy, so he probably plays on the left. Pulisic's been brilliant on the right, so again, is he playing up top? I think Napoli, just off the top of my head, makes way more sense, especially with Kvara going. Reunite with Lukaku, McTominay, the boys, get the band back together, and like you said, get that value up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the bigger concern for me, if there was an obligation to buy, is United would have to bring in somebody this window then, because you know that what your money you're going to get in the summer. You'd have to bring someone in now, and I don't think it's going to happen. United haven't been linked with. They've been linked with 2 players, and it's just been shortlist stuff. It's not like they've made contact.
Left wing back I've seen like something being worked on for January. No,
the same one that you guys were linked with, or there was another one I can't remember his name, but like it's just shortlist stuff. They haven't actually made contact with anyone.
James Show.
No, he's West Ham bound.
Dude, no one wants him, bro. Him and Dewsbury Hall, bro. Saw a picture when Dewsbury Hall got introduced in the training top with jeans. Like we should have fucking known.
Yeah, bro. I guess that's fair. I think I'd like to see Rashford go to either of the Italy sides because I think that he plays for either of them. I think that there's minutes there. Napoli or Milan. I think that makes sense.
I think Inter too. Did he talk to Inter?
No. Inter has
I don't know.
No. But Barca would be cool just because it's Barca, and Rashford being on Barca would be cool.
It makes no sense.
It doesn't make sense because he's also not starting there. It's Rafinha.
Was he going to take a major pay cut too? Like I just don't see it happening.
Play there.
No.
And Ansu doesn't make the bench.
No. So
you'd have to take a massive pay cut to play for Barcelona.
AC Milan could
even get registered.
I like it. Leao, Pulisic in the 10, Rashford on the right. I like it, dude.
Doesn't Reinders play the 10 there? He's been unbelievable.
Yeah, they could play around with it, and they said that the reports are that they're going to make him the man. That's what Ibra's been pushing towards him.
They just sacked a coach, and like they can totally. It's the time for them to reshuffle.
I think that would be great. I think it'd be good for Milan. It would be good for Rashford. Napoli makes a lot of sense.
Can they pay his wages? Can they pay his wages?
They're choosing between Kyle Walker and Rashford.
Okay,
that's a fucking mistake. They shouldn't be choosing
between. Is that actually a report?
No, that is actually that's the actual report because they can't pay both wages, so it'd have to be one or the other. And the idea that Walker is one of the ones that they're talking about is absurd.
Because I saw Walker, they wanted him for free, but obviously they would take all the wages. And then I think I saw another one where it looked like a loan, but Walker wants a permanent move. So like the financials in Italy, as we know, are awful. Like they've lowballed us for 3 years with Lukaku. We just got him off our books. So like they're penny pinching over there. It's going to be tough to squeeze a fee out of those motherfuckers.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope that Rashford gets his move, because the worst possible outcome is he comes back and either because I think Amram would have played him at this point if
these guys want to play. They all want to play. Let him go enjoy his football.
I think Amram, he'd be playing right now if there wasn't this saga. But I think between him and the club, they both are just in an agreement that it's time to move on.
Yeah, they're in too deep. It's just time.
Yeah. For United's incomings though, I think that I'm so on board with, after watching the last few games, of bringing in Osimhen. I just think that if you can give Rashford potentially as this loan obligation to buy in a swap deal, I think that just makes fucking sense. A guy that just bags goals, and then you don't have to worry about it in the summer, because they're not going to have money. They don't have money right now. They're not going to have money in the summer. And if you're not going to have Champions League, which is probably the most likely of options,
you're offloading the asset to get him. Yeah.
I don't know how exactly that works, but
he's not Haaland, but he's that ilk of striker where it's like, just get him chances. Like, again, Haaland not as bad. Like, Osimhen will miss chances. He does miss chances, but just keep getting him chances. He'll put them away. Like, he'll get enough. He's just that type of 9.
Last season, we were talking about him as being the second best striker in the world behind Haaland. So, like, the argument that he's not good enough or that he can't do it is baloney to me. And I just think that, like, Napoli, Rashford and him are in two very similar situations where I think both clubs are ready to move on, both players are ready to move on. If United can work that, I think that just changes the trajectory of this season in a way that not any other signing can. I think that you can make do with the rest of the parts for right now, and I think Amram's okay with that. But I think if you can get him, I think it just aligns players a little better. I'm really hoping that picks up steam, but I'm not sure if it will.
Yeah, Osimhen's definitely, like, I'm a little critical of him, but I mean, let's not, like, he's still upper echelon number 9s right now.
I mean,
let's not take the piss.
He walks in and he starts over Højlund and Xerxes.
He fucking walks in, he punches them both in the face. He goes, do I want 9 or do I want 11? Which number do I want? And then he picks
both.
He takes
9-11.
What locker do I want, bro? Give me your cleats, bro. Get the fuck out. Like, he walks into that team and
he does exactly what Amram would want. I mean, I don't know. I think you just do it, and you don't end up in a race for another striker in the summer, because Gyökeres is going to have a bunch of suitors. Isak's going to have a bunch of suitors. I think if you wait till the summer, Osimhen's going to have a bunch of suitors. So just do it now. Get it out of the way. You're already in a hole.
Devil's advocate. No, never mind, because Champions League teams will come in, because his price will be lower in the summer.
And he's going to want to play Champions League football.
Wants to leave. Everyone knows he wants to. Yeah, that'll be a tough one, because I think we were having issues with that. That's why he wouldn't take a wage cut. And the more you say it, like, it would be very on brand of us to go in for him only because someone else in the league goes in for him. But yeah, he is of that ilk in terms of what we have right now. I think it speaks more on what the number 9 position is right now. It's pretty thin, but he's one of the best.
Yes,
I give him that.
It'll be exciting couple weeks here. I'm excited to see what all these teams do.
I don't think he moves until the summer, though.
Oh no, not necessarily Osimhen, but just as a whole, I think that there's going to be more movement over the next couple weeks, and it should make for an exciting period.
People are realizing how open it is. People realize how open it is, bro. Like, there's no one really that good this year.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's end this. Go Spurs. Episode.
Come on, you Spurs.
Episode 24 in the bag from Mila, Grant, and myself. We will see you guys in the next one.
2 words for him. Different gravy. Glorious goal! Wreathed in red. We're really seeing the most extraordinary finish here. On this day of days, has he delivered? Just magnificent! Potentially life-changing. That's football. Minute you let it under your skin, then you begin to make it better.